Good afternoon, everyone. You guys can hear me? Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the July 31st City of Glendale Audit Committee meeting. I'm Alex Parahone. I'm the chair of the Audit Committee, and we'll now call this meeting to order at 2:02. So roll call, please.
Committee member Zara Davidian.
Present.
Committee member Jack Mavian.
Present.
Committee member Denise Miller.
Present.
Committee member Christopher Satorian is absent. And committee chair Alex Palahone.
Present. Right. Item 2, please.
Item 2, business agenda, point A, report of recording secretary regarding posting of agenda. The agenda for the July 31st, 2025 Audit Committee meeting was posted on July 24th, 2025 on the bulletin board outside of City Hall.
Okay. Did everyone review the minutes? Great. A motion to approve the minutes from the oh, we want to do that? Oh, okay. We're doing 2A right now, which is the minutes. Okay. So if we can,
Motion to approve.
okay, second?
Would you like the date?
Yes, please.
Identify the date.
It was the,
It was May.
what was it? May 27, 2025 meeting?
Motion to approve the May 27th, 2025 meeting.
Second, please?
Second to approve.
Great. All right, roll call on that?
Zara Davidian,
Yes.
committee member Jack Mavian,
Yes.
committee member Denise Miller,
Yes.
and committee chair Alex Palahone.
Yes. Approved. All right, next item here will be the oral communications. I have 4 cards in front of me.
Number 3 into the record, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes. The committee may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The audit committee chair may refer the matter to staff for investigation and report.
Just so you know, we have 4 cards here for agenda item 3, 5A, 6A, and 6C. So it's by one individual, Herbert Molano.
Mr. Chair, we would call each of those items when those items come up. So if we've got one for item number 3,
Yes.
we would call that item now, and then when it's time for the other agenda items after, when those items come up, that's when we'll call the speaker then.
Fantastic. So for agenda item 3, Herbert Molano?
Do I have 5 minutes?
No, 3.
May I have 5 minutes? Generally, there are no speakers coming here for years, and I think in order to give this justice, this presentation, I'd like to request to have 5 minutes.
Does anyone object here, or?
I think that my only concern is we have a very limited, and we have a 2-hour time frame because there is another meeting scheduled after this meeting, so we do need to be completed by 4 p.m. in order to allow the Planning Commission to set up.
Correct.
Do I have 5 minutes?
No, 3.
I don't think 2 minutes is going to make a big difference.
I agree.
Yeah, I think I can address this issue. For years, this audit committee has had no one, 0 presenters coming in during oral communications. And during the time that I have decided to come over to make a presentation, I'm limited to items that are so significant. Here we have a city with an overall appropriations of $1.2 billion. We have the overall debt of over $1 billion. We have a structural deficit of $34 million. And yet, the issues that I want to bring are individual who knows accounting. I have been controller, assistant controller. I've installed financial systems. And yet, I'm limited by this approach given to you by the staff. You have control of that, and that is what I want to invite you to do, to take control of the activities of the audit committee and exert your prerogative to actually run the meeting. not to be subservient to the staff. And that is really what I'm trying to encourage this. It has become a ceremonial body for years. For years, this committee has only met 4 times a year. Last time it was 3 times a year, less than 6 hours for a city that has a $1 billion budget. How is that possible? Are there not enough contracts exceeding $5 billion that deserve your attention? Are there enough issues with regard to the bonded debt that we have, whether or not this city is capable of actually managing that debt? The California auditor placed Glendale about 3 years ago at the bottom 15% in terms of fiscal responsibility. And that not just, there are other entities that have done so. Are you aware of that? That fiscally, this additional debt, especially the $230 million bond debt that is coming up for the electrical utility, adds a significant amount of debt to the whole population, and they will be paid for decades. These are the type of issues that I want to bring up, but yet you decide that you're only going to give me 3 minutes? I want to empower this committee to take charge, to exert your prerogative to define what is going to be audited and what is not going to be audited, and to make it relevant, and to make it 12 meetings per year, minimum, in order to properly execute the role of an audit committee. Do not become subservient to the staff. You are here in a role representing the residents and the taxpayers and the stakeholders of Glendale. Take ownership of it. Don't become subservient to this group.
Thank you, sir. Anyone has any comments?
Next item is,
Next item, please.
Item 4, approval of minutes. I
We did
believe
that
we did
already.
have a motion for this. So
We did that
moving on to item 5, action items, the election of Audit Committee Chair.
So as required annually, we will now elect a chair for the upcoming term for the Audit Committee. And so we're going to open the floor for nominations here in my team here. So anyone wants to either nominate someone or yourself, et cetera, please do so, or nominate the current chair if you want.
I'm nominating the current chair, Alex.
Anyone else? Nominations?
so nominations don't need a second, and
Can I ask some historical questions about this real quickly? May I ask, how long have you been on this commission and how long have you been chair?
I've been in this commission, I believe, 8 or 9 years now, and I've been a chair. This will be completing my 2nd term.
And how long are the terms?
they are one-year terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you would like to serve again should you be nominated? Is that my understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I think at this point, we were asking for any other nominations for the position of chair. And if there are none, we would now take a vote.
How would you manage?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a card that was submitted?
Agenda item 5A.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Just in addressing the number of minutes, typically it is 3 minutes. And it is within the purview of the chair to change that time frame. But given, again, the complexity of the agenda, the number of items that you have to go through, the number of minutes that would be dedicated to public comment, that's something that you want to take into consideration when you make the decision
Right.
as to whether or not to extend that. And it is a fairly common time frame to have 3 minutes. It's not unique to this committee. So it's not a shorter time frame, for example, for this committee versus other committees.
Okay, thank you. Herbert Milano.
Thank you very much. Chair Parajon and members of the committee, there is, in my opinion, no committee more important and more substantial than this committee. out of all the committees in the city of Glendale and all the commissions. Perhaps the Charter Review Commission may be one of them, because it takes place only like once every 10 years or so. But this is the most important one. I have taken the time to prepare a document that stipulates what I would expect as the qualifications for an audit committee chair. And this is a serious situation for me, because for many years, the chair of the audit committee was the prior campaign manager of one of the council members, for years. And during that time, there were significant items that I have placed on that particular report that were never audited, right? The number of major construction for housing and the involvement of the city in providing low-income housing, for example, or affordable housing, it exceeds over 100 million. These major projects, like from what I recall from the list of audits, was never properly audited. And yet, the individual who was running this committee was directly related politically to the person who's the current mayor of Glendale. That is inappropriate. That should never occur. And as a result of that history of really minor items being selected, minor meaning rudimentary administrative or control items, not that they are incorrectly done, but that in the scope of things, of the expenses that Glendale has, that individual as chair, you can direct and significantly influence what tasks you take. I am suggesting that this committee review at least some of the areas that I presented here, core competencies that I feel, independence of governance, leadership deliberation, the commitment to have 12 meetings a year, and then issues about the technology. Because our accounting systems, the ERP, may have technologies that are crucial for the quality of the audit that you're going to do. If you don't know what referential integrity is, and if there are parts of the system that don't have it, you have problems. And now we have opportunities to use blockchain as an example to basically create rigorous controls for many of the transactions that are taking place, for which there is perhaps likely no controls of that nature that would create the additional oversight needed and self-control so that the audits could be a lot more reliable. So I put in 25 points of what I figure a chair should have. And I would appreciate if you would take at least a couple of them, or if you have any questions, I would gladly answer your questions with regard to this.
Herbert Milano, thank you for it. And just so you're aware, we do review the list that we audit. And I know this several months ago, I did ask the staff to provide me the list of audited items to see what we can select from there. I reviewed it, and based on timing, staffing, you'll see one of the audits today where how many hours it takes to do an audit from an internal audit perspective. We do have a external auditor, which we hire a firm that does it, and pretty much they provide us the findings that they have, if they have any, and report it to City Council as well as us here. So we cover all. They do cover all the bases from the perspective of the external audit, but internally, due to staffing, they select certain audits that staff can do based on the hours available.
May I have a follow-up question?
Just one more. Go ahead.
Just one question. Have you yourselves looked at what used to be called the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, gone in there and selected and said, oh my God, this is so important that I would like to see an audit? Did you initiate an audit that was not given to you by staff?
Thank you.
So I have a couple of comments, if I may. So in terms of selecting a chair, just so you know, first off, I do want to put it out there and thank Mr. Parahone for stepping up and being the chair and for being on this commission. At the same time, I do want you to know I'm not opposed to moving into a position like this because I like new and I like information. But at the same time, just so we're all clear about this, I also tend to not as a new person step into a role because I like to see where things go. I like to see where things go and where I fit. That being said, I am bold where I would do it. I also could sit back. It's a title. So, essentially I throw my hat in the ring today, Mr. Milano, and we have a vote of 4, and we're wasting precious time in the 2 hours. So for those reasons, what I want to let you know is that I can equally be as effective as a role in this way. At the same time, some of the comments that were made about the public, I would like them future agendized. I would like us to talk about why we're not meeting more than, is there a history where you could explain why we only meet 4 times a year? I agree with Mr. Milano that this is singularly one of the most important commissions in the city, and I think that it merits us looking at this. Again, I recognize what our role is. I recognize that you are paid staff, and I recognize what our role is, but we're in a role to be in oversight appointed by council. And so if the decision is a resource, or I would just, where I'm going is, could staff present why it's only 4 times a year, and then could we as a commission discuss what more than 4 times a year looks like and where we could contribute. Like if all of us could look at the items and go forth. I also want you to know I'm not an accountant like many of you, but I do handle billion-dollar projects, which is why I walked in. That's billion. That's why I walked in right at 2 o'clock, because I just successfully launched one that will benefit 1,000 members in healthcare. So at the same time, I do think that kind of oversight is necessary, and I do think peeling back the onion is important, and I do take this role very seriously. So I'm here to support, and I'm here to push as well.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Would staff want to answer the question?
I think we're back to the nominations. If there are other nominations.
Or just taking a vote, right?
Just taking a vote.
We can then just take the vote if there are no other nominations.
Because if I self-nominate, there's 4 of us. I mean, potentially it's splitting 2 and 2, or else 3 and 1.
would support that, but we would be tied.
Right.
Then we would get the determination when.
We would then, right, we would continue it to the next meeting when we have 5 people, and then run the item again.
I would need you to
Well, I
to
nominate.
speak up if you
I
would.
nominate Denise Miller.
Okay, so if there are no other nominations, we would then take a vote. If we are going to have a split vote, then we would continue the item to the next meeting. So the way that we could do that is we would call roll, and you would, we could either do it by voting on the first nominee and then the second nominee, or if your name is called, you can provide the name of the person that you'd like to vote for.
I think it's already clear. We're going to push it to next meeting because it's going to be 2 and 2. And I would like to push it to next meeting, so we have an opportunity. So as I said, I'm nominating Alex.
I think for the record, they have to take a vote. So what if
Let's
we
do it.
just say
I
a
mean,
name?
the reason I'm saying this, so we don't have to waste time.
Good point.
Okay, so we'll call roll, and then you would identify the name of the person that you'd like to vote for.
Committee member Zara Davidian.
Alex?
Committee member Jack Mavian.
Ms. Miller.
Committee member Denise Miller.
Denise Miller.
Committee member Christopher Satorian is absent, and committee chair Alex Palahone.
Alex Powerhome.
So then unless there's a need to take the vote again, we would push this item to the next meeting. With regard to the frequency of the meetings, it's in the municipal code that the council has instructed that this committee will meet at least once quarterly. You can call special meetings if you'd like, and it can meet more frequently. So if there's more business to be had, it's something that can be done on a more frequent basis.
If I can add to that, there is, however, a logistical issue with that. As you can see, the total overall staffing within that operation has teetered between 2 and 3 individuals over the last couple of years. Right now, we only have 2 people in that operation. We're actually looking at a different model for our staffing needs overall. It's still in its infancy. We just had that conversation with our city manager last week. So even if we were directed to come and meet more frequently on a monthly basis, I'm certain we are not going to have any updates on new audits every 30 days with the current levels of staffing that we do.
Thank you, Mr. Taktaglia, and I do want you to know, and for the purpose of everyone here, I wouldn't actually be going towards 12. I would hope that this group could narrow our discussion closer to 6, which is every other month.
So I think the committee used to meet more frequently. It found that for the reasons that were stated, that the ability to report out on audits didn't necessitate the ability to have meetings more frequently.
That makes sense. Can I also just ask one last, for future records, if we're going to take a vote on something like that, can we do it when we have a full, can we just do it when we have a full board, so we don't take up all this time?
With regard to the selection of the chair, for example, that's something that happens
Once a year.
at this meeting, and we can't anticipate whether or not we would have a full committee, and therefore we have it on the agenda. But if the result is what it is, then we can certainly push it back.
Thank you for allowing all my comments.
So item 6A will be, I'm sorry, item 5 will be moved forward to the next meeting then, unless we have a special meeting that we can have all 5 of us here. Next item, please.
Next item, 5B, election of Audit Committee Secretary.
I nominate Daniel Mitchell.
I second that.
Anyone else? Okay.
Do you have a card on that?
Huh?
Do you have a card?
Just the 5A one. Yeah. All right, roll call for vote.
Committee member Zara Davidian.
Agree?
Committee member Jack Mavian.
Aye.
Committee member Denise Miller.
Yes?
Committee member Christopher Satorian is absent. And committee chair Alex Palahone.
Yes. All right. Congratulations, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you for
you.
serving another year.
Happy to serve.
All right, next item, please.
Item 5C, annual report to the City Council.
So, let me see here. So the annual report is the one that we will send out to the council. Now, because we don't have an elected chair for this coming term, well, that means I pretty much am the one signing this for now, right? An interim?
Yes,
Okay.
Chair Palahone, you will continue to be chair until your successor is elected.
All right, great. So the report here reads, Dear Mayor Najarian and City Council members, each year the Audit Committee must report our actions and activities to the City Council per Glendale Municipal Code Section 2.82.100. The purpose of this memo is to communicate our activities for the period of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. The Audit Committee met 3 times during the fiscal year 24-25, where we were provided the financials, updates, and internal audit activity reports. The Audit Committee continues to conduct paperless meetings in keeping in with the City Council priorities of fiscal responsibility, sustainability, and continues to save costs associated with printing, assembling, and dispatching documents. The Audit Committee assists the City Council by reviewing financial information and management reports, and by providing independent recommendations regarding the scope, priority, and the methods of audit related to activities within the city. The financial activities by the Audit Committee includes received audit communications from Clifton Larson Allen LLP on their responsibility, scopes, and activities for the annual audit of the city for the period ending June 30th, 2024. Number two, received and reviewed the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Received fiscal reports from the Finance Department and City Management. The internal audit activities by the Audit Committee includes received and reviewed a fiscal year 23-24 work plan status update, the fiscal year 24-25 internal audit annual work plan, and monitor progress in addressing the risk priorities for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Item 2, review internal audit reports as they were issued, were briefed on all completed audit assignments by internal audit staff and department representatives, reviewed the progress of quarterly follow-up activities, and discussed the action plan related to outstanding audit issues reaching specified criteria. Number 3, monitor the types of projects performed by the internal audit staff to ensure ongoing independence in the internal audit function. The Audit Committee members wish to express our appreciation to city staff, support our efforts, and keep us informed of events and issues in the city. We look forward, sorry, I lost it here. We look forward to continuing to serve the interests of the city in the incoming year. Respectfully submitted by the Chair of the Audit Committee, Alex Parajon. And then Audit Committee members are identified as well in the report here. All right, so would I get a approval for this letter? Vote for this letter, please.
Motion to approve?
A second? Can I get a second?
Second.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll be submitting that, and I'll be signing that letter after the meeting today. So
I'm
next,
sorry, did we want to take a vote on that?
oh, roll call. Sorry, roll call, please.
Committee members Zara Davidian. Approved. Committee member Jack Mavian.
Approve.
Committee member Denise Miller.
Yes.
Committee member Christopher Satorian is absent, and committee chair Alex Parajon.
Approved. All right, next item, please, is 6A. We do have a card here as well from Herbert Molano. So should we have Herbert come in, please?
Thank you, Chair Parajon, members of the Audit Committee. I would like to make a suggestion with regard to what should be included in a future audit. On the tail end of your annual comprehensive financial report is the statistical section. It is the section that covers about a 10-year period, and it is by far the clearest set of documents available to the general public. And it is amazingly powerful because it gives you the trend line, what has occurred in the last 10 years, year by year. And it states on the document that it is not audited, that those particular figures have not been. And I'm making a suggestion that every year you take a section of the statistical portion of the CAFR and have them audited. It is really, really important because in many of the sections, for example, it shows that zero pavement has been reconstructed year after year after year, and I know that's not correct. I know it's very little, but nonetheless, the document is incorrect. And I think it behooves us to have a document that serves the general public to figure out what the trends are, right? That the police budget has exceeded something like over 60% from 10 years ago, or that the fire department's budget has been increased now by more than 72%. So these are truly important sections that doesn't prevent the individuals having to trudge through a lot of the minutia that comes in between the first page and the statistical section. So that's my suggestion that you take that up and make a suggestion to extend the audit to cover the statistical section. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have you made that same suggestion, Mr. Milano, to City Council? Okay, thanks.
All right, can we have the representative here from Clifton Larson Allen?
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Joe Luden. I'm a principal at Clifton Larson Allen. I'm here today to present on our fiscal year 2025 audit. If we can start by going through the agenda quickly here, I'm going to start by covering our scope of our services and the processes. I'll then move on to our audit timeline, how we plan for our audit, and additionally, the responsibilities of both governance, management of the finance department, and then our responsibility as auditors. I'm going to finish up with going over some new GASB pronouncements. There's 4 for the next 2 fiscal years that I'll be covering today. So let's start by going through the scope of our services. We are going to audit the annual comprehensive financial report for the city of Glendale, as well as the financial statements of the electric utility and water utility funds. We additionally will also perform a single audit on the federal grants. You can see in the first column there, those go through our opinions that relate to those specific financial reports. The next column is going to go through some other attest services that we do provide. The first one is your National Transit Database. Sorry, can I just use it? Great. Perfect. There we go. So the other test services that we perform, the first one is the NTD, which is National Transit Database Agreed Upon Procedures. We also are going to perform a GAN Appropriations Limit Agreed Upon Procedures. And the last one is a HUD REAC report. The next column is going to go through our communications, and really what that is the letters that we're going to provide at our time of issuance of the financial report. The first one is a letter to those charged with governance. Really what this is it encapsulates all that's happened during the audit, and if there's anything that we feel like should be communicated to the audit committee, to council, to those charged with governance. These typically are not going to be your internal control matters, because those will be handled on the second letter, which is our internal control letter. This would be any recommendations, any comments that we have related to internal controls of the city that we want to make sure that those charged with governance are aware of. The final column here goes through our non-audit services. This can be something like proposed journal entries, correcting journal entries, assistance with implementation of new GASBs that come out that year, and then finally the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. This really relates to the single audit. Again, we assist with the preparation of that. So let's touch on the audit plan. And really what I want to go from is the beginning of our audit and how we get to issuing our report. So we've started our interim work. We do that in June. So that's completed. And what that consists of is internal meetings from us as auditors. We go through, talk as a team about you as a city, what we're going to be focusing on. We inquire with the people in finance and the various departments about the controls that are in place, any update to our documentation that's needed. And this helps dictate what we're going to be looking at to go through your controls as a city. So our interim work really focuses on those controls. I'll go through one example right now, which relates to disbursements. So disbursements, your checks going out, we're going to randomly select some transactions that take place and ensure that they follow the city's policies and procedures. So in other words, whatever your purchase policy states, we make sure that that's what's happening on the selections that we look at. Otherwise, it would make it onto a recommendation list. That's just an example of what goes on there. Once we've moved through interim, we're then going to move on to our final field work. This takes place during the September and October time period. We're going to be going through the account balances as of the end of the fiscal year, June 30th. We confirm with third parties some of your account balances, and we perform cutoff procedures, which really is looking at transactions that happen after year end to ensure that if they should be placed in fiscal year 25, that they are recorded appropriately. Once we're finished with that, that's going to allow us to get to our reporting phase. The reporting phase takes place in December. That's when typically your financial statements will be issued. And as mentioned earlier by the public comment, it has several sections. One of them is the statistical section, which was mentioned earlier, but we also have the introductory section and the financial section. The financial section is the one that we are giving our opinion on and the one that is considered audited. The introductory section and the statistical section are unaudited. They're included in the financial statements. And what we do as auditors, we perform limited procedures on those, meaning that we agree the numbers that can agree to our audited financials. We look through and make sure there's consistency within those. So let's touch on responsibilities. So governance, the audit committee, city council, the responsibility is to set a good tone at the top. And one of the things that's included in that is accountability for financial reporting. Then we move on to the responsibilities of management, really finance management here. Finance management is required to do the presentation and preparation of the financial statements and take responsibility for that, for the design and adherence to internal controls over financial reporting. And then at the conclusion of our audit, they were going to provide written representations as it relates to the audit, to us as auditors. Our responsibilities is to make sure that we are able to express an opinion on the financial statements. We do that by adhering to specific standards. Specifically for you in this city, we have generally accepted and governmental auditing standards that we will be utilizing to make sure we're in compliance and are able to issue our opinion. So our audit is designed to provide reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance. And what that means, absolute assurance would mean we test every single transaction on everything that happens in the city. Reasonable assurance is that we sample it within these guidelines and make sure that we have enough information to reasonably state that your financials are materially accurate. In addition to that, we will be going through your internal controls, as mentioned earlier, interim, related to the financial statements. And finally, if any matters come up that are significant and should be communicated to either the audit committee or to the city council, we do that immediately to make sure everyone is in the loop at an appropriate time frame. So now I'm going to move on to the upcoming GASB standards and pronouncements that will be implemented this year and next year. So number one here is GASB 101, which relates to compensated absences. Compensated absences are something that the city has been recording. There's no change to that. There's just a little bit of a different methodology with this pronouncement on how they arrive at the number. So there's a few little nuances that are going to change it slightly. But again, this is going to be nothing you'll notice in looking at the financials. It's nothing that's going to jump out at you and say that there's a big change here. But we will be helping implement that this year. So that's already in progress. The second is GASB 102, and this has to do with risk disclosures. So again, the city already has a disclosure related to risks. This just adds to it and adds a few more categories that are potential areas in which that disclosure may be enhanced. I'm just going to do one example here. If the city was to have one of its larger employers, very large employer, that left the state, and that might have a fiscal impact on the city. If it was substantial enough, that's something that would be in a disclosure like this, a risk disclosure. So that's just one area in which it could change. You likely won't see a major difference, but it is something that will be implemented this year.
Excuse me.
Yep, sorry,
Sorry.
didn't go.
Yeah.
Yep, sorry about that. Okay, so that was the risk disclosures. The next one is for fiscal year 26. So this will be a little bit of a larger one. It has to do with the reporting model. It's GASB 103. So there will be a change in the reporting model. It's not going to be overly substantial. The big highlight, I would say, number one for readers is going to be the MD&A, which is Management Discussion and Analysis. This has typically been a very boilerplated thing for almost every single city. Really what this pronouncement's doing is trying to make this more specific to your city, give more impactful information to the readers. So that's going to change the format of how that's set up. The other thing that will change for the city is you have a budget and actual statement for your general fund that's part of your basic financial statements, which really means it's really toward the front of your financials. That is no longer going to be an option. On the current reporting model, that is an option. Now it will not. They'll need to just move that schedule back to the RSI, required supplementary information. It's not going to change the report, meaning that schedule stays exactly the same. It just moves back in the report. So that's one other piece for this reporting model. Again, that's going to be in fiscal year 26. And our final one that we're going to cover today has to do with disclosures related to capital assets. This is GASB 104. Again, the city already has a very comprehensive disclosure related to capital assets. This is going to enhance that potentially. It depends if the city has some of these that it meets at that time, and it will just make it a little longer. To most people that are going to read it, you won't even really notice a difference. It's just going to enhance some of those disclosures a little bit related to some of the topics. So that concludes the presentation. I am happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for the detailed presentation and the PowerPoint. What is the projected hours that you have planned this coming year?
We typically are somewhere in the neighborhood of about 550 hours. So I would expect it would remain in that area.
Okay. I was trying to look at my notes from last year. We got so many hours that were projected that last year. But the numbers from the last year one, did it increase or was there a decline?
I have it. I was prepped that this might come up. So,
Okay.
So we were they're right around 550, then down to 515, then up last year to a little over 600. So they're going to vary just depending upon whatever complexities happen during that year. So it can fluctuate, but those are all in line. So I would say it's typically going to be in that 550 to 575.
And what sample items, sample items, or the number of sample items you request from the various audits that you do?
It just depends. I mean, there's requirements on how these forms are filled out. They come up with an exact number of sample that is required, and that's what we utilize. So it's going to vary. Sometimes it might be as low as 5. It could be up to 80. You know, it just depends on the volume, and there's very specific things that arrive at that, and it could be through materiality numbers and things like that as well.
Great, thank you. Just ask those questions so that way the public that's watching can understand that as well.
Absolutely.
Any commissioners have any questions?
No question here.
Great, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next action item, please.
Item 6B, Internal Audit Activity Report as of June 30th, 2025. Natalie Minami Valdivia, Principal Internal Auditor.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Patajon and fellow Audit Committee members. My name is Natalie Minami Valdivia, and I'm the Principal Internal Auditor within the Internal Audit Division of the Management Services Department. I'm happy to present to you the quarterly activity report as of June 30th, 2025. I will walk you through each of the 7 sections, beginning with the projects completed. For this past quarter, internal audit completed 2 projects, including the take-home vehicle audit and the PCI compliance audit. And both of these audits were completed by internal auditor Daniel Mitchell, and he's prepared 2 PowerPoint presentations to present to you and walk you through each of those audits. So Daniel, if you wouldn't mind starting us off with the first audit, the take-home vehicle audit.
Thank you, Natalie. Good afternoon, Chair Patajon, fellow committee members. My name is Daniel Mitchell, and I'm an internal auditor in the Internal Audit Division. Today, I would like to review our take-home vehicle program audit, which was issued June 30th, 2025. The take-home vehicle program allows the City of Glendale to assign certain employees a take-home vehicle so they can respond quickly to emergencies after normal working hours. Each department assesses the need for employees to have a take-home vehicle and requests city manager's approval for those take-home vehicles. As of December 31st, 2024, the city had a total of 1,089 vehicles in their fleet, 82 of which were classified as a take-home vehicle. As you see in this chart, this makes up 8% of the total fleet, which is made up of 62 vehicles for the police department, 12 vehicles for the fire department, and 8 vehicles for Glendale Water and Power. The objective of this audit was to determine whether adequate controls were in place to ensure that the city's take-home vehicles are being managed and utilized appropriately. The scope of this audit covers 82 assigned take-home vehicles, which were assigned to employees during the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. To accomplish this objective, the internal audit team interviewed city staff regarding their knowledge of the take-home vehicle program, reviewed city policy surrounding the assignment of city vehicles, evaluated internal controls supporting this program, verified take-home vehicle data, and performed detailed test work over the take-home vehicles as well as the employees assigned one. Based on our testing, we identified 3 areas for improvement opportunities related to policy compliance, asset management, and IRS compliance. Our first observation includes 2 improvement opportunity recommendations related to compliance with current city policy. Our first improvement opportunity was identified through review of the city policy, where we determined that the city manager's office review and approval of the take-home vehicle requests annually was a key control to ensure that the program is operating as designed. Through discussion with city staff, it was noted that this control was not operating during our period of testing, which led to our recommendation that department heads annually submit their take-home vehicle requests for approval from the city manager's office. Our next improvement opportunity was identified through testing, where it was noted that an executive received both the take-home vehicle and an auto allowance during our testing period, neither of which had documentation of the city manager's approval, which is required by city policy. As a result of this finding, we determined that no executives are currently receiving both an auto allowance and a take-home vehicle, and recommended that the city manager's review and approval of executive auto allowances is documented and retained. Our next observation includes 4 improvement opportunities recommended to ensure that the city is managing assets appropriately. Through our testing of a sold vehicle which was classified as a take-home vehicle in 2024, it was noted that it took on average 58 days to deposit funds from the sale of vehicles. To better manage these funds, it was recommended that a new procedure was implemented to reduce the amount of time that it takes for funds to be deposited. While testing the sale of this vehicle, it was also noted that the city did not retain a bill of lading from the carrier when they'd pick up the vehicle to deliver it to the auctioneer. Based on this finding, it was recommended that we require the carriers to obtain a signed bill of lading outlining their responsibilities and acknowledging the fact that they have the possession of that vehicle while it was being delivered. Next, through inquiries with department, it was noted that some employees gave up their take-home vehicle during 2024, and there was no documentation showing this occurred. The employees would return their vehicle because their job duties no longer required one. Based on the fact that there was no documentation, we recommended that city department heads reach out to fleet services to inform them of any changes to the fleet take-home vehicle status. This would allow fleet services to retain an accurate listing of the take-home vehicle status. Our final improvement opportunity recommendation over asset management was to perform an annual physical inventory of the city's fleet. We recommend that finance and fleet services work together to find the most efficient approach to perform this count to ensure the accuracy of the fleet listing. Our final observation covers 2 improvement opportunities over the city's compliance with IRS compliance. Through review of the IRS requirements, it was noted that safe harbor guidelines recommend that the city have evidence that the employee agrees to not use a take-home vehicle for personal use. We recommend that the city obtain the signed agreement from each employee with access to a take-home vehicle. We next noted that the city could implement an improved process to ensure that the fringe benefits are considered annually for each employee who has an assigned take-home vehicle. This process has the benefit status of each take-home vehicle considered annually to ensure that employees' W-2s are accurate. This concludes my presentation of the take-home vehicle audit. I would like to take this time to thank staff from the City Management Services Office, Finance, Public Works, Glendale Police Department, Glendale Fire Department, and Glendale Water and Power for their support and assistance provided throughout this audit. City staff and I are here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that report. I have a question on this. The vehicle miles or GPS system, is there tracking on that, audit on that?
There is not a tracking device available on any of the vehicles, and we did look into the cost of that, and it is quite significant. So we weighed the benefit and cost versus actually looking into installing the GPS and determined that it would be a pretty large expense for the city to incur. Looking at the use of these vehicles, we did determine that they were, on average, a relatively reasonable number of miles in comparison to the normal vehicles that weren't a take-home vehicle, which I think from our conclusion showed that they weren't being used in excessive amounts.
And when they're driving them home, if they get into a car accident, et cetera, is the city liable pretty much because they're using the company vehicle to take home, or?
Whether they're liable for the vehicle when they're in an accident, I would have to defer to our city attorneys on that one and get back to you for that information, but that is a good question.
And I saw that it took a lot of hours to complete this audit. I mean, that took more than the external auditors. numbers on that. So what caused that? Why was it over 600 hours on this audit?
I think what took the longest is just the number of departments that were involved in this process. And we continued to unearth things as we dove deeper into items, which expanded the scope further than we were initially planning.
Okay.
Question I have, how do you come up with the fringe benefit amount that goes on the W-2? What is the calculation?
So the IRS guidelines does recommend a certain calculation for that, and it is based on the employee's salary and level.
Now, how do you determine, I have a car, for example, how do you determine, do I get $1,000 on my W-2 or I get $10,000? What is your calculation?
It is based on the number of days that they had the access to that vehicle. So we would be looking at the number of days worked, multiplying that by, I believe, I don't want to actually quote the number because I'm not entirely positive, but it is an IRS recommended number of how many dollars per day that they would be charged for their W-2 where they had access to that vehicle.
Okay. I'm not aware of any IRS that specify a daily amount. So can you get back to me on that
Absolutely can.
with the exact numbers?
Will do.
I think I've seen it, but I just don't remember the actual calculation on that. But yeah, you're right on that. And for priority one item that you have here, what steps are being taken to resolve that priority one from the?
Yes, so we do have two priority one recommendations here, both of which are already in the works of being addressed by management. So if we look at our first one for the annual submission of requests, a template has already been created and circulated right now between department heads, and we have already been discussing the expectations of providing that annually for the city manager's review and approval. As you see, the items that we listed to be included in this would be the vehicle number, the residence, so their mileage would be considered for their commute, and whether or not they are receiving an auto allowance. And then for the next part of our priority one, observation number one, is the dual benefits. Like I said, we did look into further to make sure that there are no executives currently receiving both an auto allowance and a take-home vehicle. And management is implementing a new process to make sure that the city manager does document their review and approval of said auto allowances. For our second observation, going through each item, the finance team and purchasing are already currently working together to implement a new practice so that we can deposit funds more timely. There's already been a few runs through that, and I think we're finding it very successful so far. And I believe by the end of, or by September 30th, there will be a new process on making sure that that is quicker. Moving to 2B. Fleet Services has already started requiring carriers to provide a signed bill of lading. So we've already seen these, and it does have everything outlined that we were hoping to see, making sure that the carriers are taking responsibility for the vehicle after it's been picked up. And then for 2C, the communication has already occurred that the expectation for department heads to communicate changes to fleet status happens timely, just so we can keep an accurate record. This is important for a couple cases. For instance, if an employee were to return their vehicle but be eligible for an allowance, we would want that to be documented. So that has already been communicated. It has been put in the works to make sure that that communication does happen. And then finally, the Finance and Fleet Service Department are already communicating and are putting together a plan for how the inventory count will occur annually. I believe we're expecting the plan to be completed by September 30th, but we're hoping to have the count occur by the end of the year. So we'll continue to work together. I mean, Finance and Fleet Services will continue to work together to make sure that those happen.
And can you show me that slide again that you had of the percentage of fire, police that actually take the vehicles?
Yes.
All right, so see that, is police the one that has the most, right, 62?
Yes, police does
All right.
have the largest, and actually, oh, sorry.
And is there a ranking as to which police officers actually are the ones that are part of that 62? Like,
Oh,
is it lieutenants, is it sergeants,
Police, it
captains?
does vary on division, and actually, I do have a slide. Let me go through this in a second. Showing the breakdown of how those vehicles actually are determined between the Glendale Police Department. And so you can see here, we do have command staff and some general police, like Robert, I guess I shouldn't say general, But issues that I think are more unique is we see narcotics, which would include undercover agents, so they wouldn't be returning their vehicle to the city. And then you have the motorcycle officers who make up 17 of that 62, which is required as part of their MOU. And then we have K-9 officers as well, who use their vehicle to transport the dog back and forth from their home. So you do see out of that 62, there is a large number that I do think are unique cases within just the police department, which we wouldn't see in other departments who might require a take-home vehicle.
Okay. And the fire, you have that one too?
And we got it also, keep going through. So fire is closer to more of a rank relation. So you can see each of the divisions does have a take-home vehicle opportunity within the department, but it is determined based on the level that would need to respond to emergencies timely. So these are the individuals that you would want to, they wouldn't necessarily be in the firehouse at all times, but at a high level, such as chief, that you would want them to be responding to emergencies as quickly as
And
possible.
obviously, the purpose of it is because they have the proper equipment on the vehicles that they can, code 3 all the way from wherever they're at. to
Exactly.
Glendale.
So everyone with a take-home vehicle, especially in the fire department, is equipped with a siren and lights so they can get there as quickly as possible.
And I'll just add, aside from in fire specifically, aside from just the sirens and code 3, they're also fully equipped with all the different layers of the maps and everything that's set up in the back of the truck. So if they do get to an incident where they're going to have to take command and control, they have all their accessories, all their tools in the trunk to be able to do that.
Now, I know other cities out there, they have a tracking as to if they hit the code 3 button to activate the sirens, it notifies someone or they have to report that they used it. Is that something that we have in these vehicles or no?
So that information wasn't available for our vehicles, so there wasn't currently a tracking of how many emergencies they're actually responding to at the moment.
Because, they could be driving home and they want to get home quick and put code 3 on there.
No, and through our discussions with the departments, I think the tone at the top would cover that. So everyone who does have a vehicle does understand the responsibility of having one.
Yeah, okay. Great, anyone else has any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So moving on to the next completed project, it was the PCI compliance audit. And as you all know, we perform this audit 3 times a year. And at the last audit committee meeting, we went through the entire PowerPoint slide deck. So in the interest of time, and unless there's any objections, we're going to, it's our intention to start from slide 11 to discuss the outcome of this last audit.
Thank you, Natalie. So as discussed, the next item I would like to review is our payment card industry compliance audit, which was issued June 30th, 2025. Our objective was to assess the city's ongoing compliance with its payment card industry policy and departmental payment procedures. The scope of our audit is based on the payment card industry data security standards in scope requirements as defined by our external qualified security assessor, referred to as a QSA throughout this presentation. Our audit process involves a combination of site visits, system reviews, and calendar task verification. Internal audit performs periodic audits like this one to ensure ongoing compliance and to help departments prepare for the QSA's visit. Our audit process covers 3 main areas: physical site visits, system reviews, and calendar task reviews. Our goal is to review all in-scope sites, systems, and calendar tasks at least once a year prior to the QSA's visit. Currently, our PSI DSS scope includes 19 sites, 5 systems, and 29 calendar tasks. This particular audit covers the period of March to May 2025 and is the second of 3 planned internal audits for calendar year 2025. For this review, we focused on 8 sites, 2 systems, and 6 calendar tasks. During our site visits, we conducted several activities, including reviewed update procedures with staff, performed walkthroughs of their credit card transaction process, verified their understanding of the PCI policy, compared devices' serial numbers, reviewed tamper logs, and confirming that all employees handling credit card data have required have completed the required PCI training. The system reviews involve reviewing attestation of compliance from third-party service providers, declaring that they have met PCI DSS requirements, reviewing contracts to ensure that third-party service providers are contractually obligated to comply with PCI DSS, and verifying system security configurations comply to current system policies. For calendar tasks, we reviewed those scheduled for the period of March 2025 to May 2025. The review encompasses several key activities which relate to the PCI DSS compliance. As you can see, we confirmed that the PCI DSS tracking document was updated, the PCI team quarterly meeting occurred, and vulnerability scans were performed. Through our testing, we found that 4 of the 8 sites had exceptions related to PCI policy. We noted that no exceptions through our review of 2 systems and 6 calendar tasks. As stated during our site visits, we noted that 4 of the sites had exceptions. Each of these 4 sites had not consistently performed or documented their required tamper log review, and 1 of the 4 did not have the correct device number on their tamper log. These exceptions were subsequently remediated by supervisors at each location. This concludes my presentation of the PCI audit. I would like to thank the City Treasurer's Office and City Department staff for their assistance throughout this audit. The Assistant Treasurer, Gia Murray, and I are here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for this report. I was actually just doing a comparison from the last time we had this report as well, just to see the difference that we did. Now, the chart that I see there that says calendar year audit schedule.
Yes.
So that right there, so that's the total sites we have overall for the year, right? That you're auditing, right? 19?
Yes, correct. 19 in total throughout the year, so that'll be done over the course of 3 audits.
All right. So that's why this current audit consists of that specific one of 22?
Of the 8 sites.
Oh, the 8 sites up there, okay. Because it's the second one.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So the next meeting we'll have, you'll be covering the third one, right, which is those 5 sites?
Exactly.
All right, perfect. And because we do this one constantly, are there, besides the results you determine here and constantly doing this, are you going back to the prior one and making sure that they made the proper recommendations you did to fix whatever was reported in the last audit that you did?
We are, and so I believe in the last one, we noted a lot of issues within the training area, and so we were pleased to find that everyone was up to date on their training, and they have taken that very seriously moving forward. So all of these recommendations are being considered by the departments, and we are seeing action being taken because of them.
Okay, great. Anyone else has any questions on this section? Right, thank you very much for your report. I actually have a comment card here, so I need Herbert Milano to step up and address this item, 6B. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Perron, members of the Audit Committee. I have a question with regard to the item that he just brought up with regard to PCI compliance. As the city creates these controls to make sure that industry standards are followed, I began to wonder how this relates to any audits having to do with procurement cards and the use of, for example, for fuel, whether there are different audits with regard to who chooses the fuel, what vehicle was used, how we identify the individual, who approves it, and that whole other section that should go side by side. So you have one set of controls with PCI, but you have other internal controls that you should have with regard to who's authorized to take fuel, what are the amounts usually, and so forth, and get the statistical information to assist you in the proper audit of who has the rights to use a credit card or some other procurement card for this purpose.
Thank you. And actually, I've had that audit in the past in regards to the P cards. And so that one, we should be a report on that on the city website for that. This one specifically is the PCI compliance of the credit card usage and the, but not, sorry, not the city cards. It's the information from the outside, where they come and use, and we charge them. So that's the policy on this one. All right. Thank you very much for your comments, sir. Next item on the agenda, please.
So continuing on with the internal audit activity report, I'll continue on with section number 2, projects in progress. As of June 30th, 2025, there was one project in progress, and that is our public benefits program audit. And the objective of that audit is to determine whether there's adequate controls in place to ensure that the public benefits program is effective and appropriately managed. So moving on to, and that project is in progress, and currently being worked on, and will be completed hopefully before the next audit committee meeting. Moving on to section 3, the continuous auditing. I'm pleased to report the results of our continuous audits for the last quarter. We performed 4 continuous audits, including a double-dipping continuous audit that compares employee procurement card transactions and expense claims to identify instances of duplicates, and a procurement card merchants test to identify potential noncompliance with the city's procurement card policies, and these included tests such as the phantom merchants test and a restricted merchants test. The third one was a duplicate payments test that identifies duplicate payments based on such criteria as the vendor number, the amount, the account number, invoice description, invoice date, and invoice number. And then the last one was the user access control test for the RecTrack application to ensure that user access is limited to authorized employees at a point in time. So that includes ensuring that when we have separated employees, those employees' access are also timely terminated. So I'm happy to announce that no exceptions were noted in the 4 continuous audits that were performed. This is a testament to the strength of our internal controls and the diligence of our city staff. Moving on to section 4, the outstanding audit items. Internal audit conducted follow-up on outstanding items, basically the previous recommendations that we have issued in our reports to ensure that they are timely and appropriately implemented. There were a total of 8 projects with 28 audit items, of which 4 were implemented, 1 was partially implemented, and 23 items remained outstanding as of the quarter end. Section 5 is outstanding priority 1 audit items. So these audit items, there were 2 that met this criteria for a priority 1 risk rating, and as you previously discussed, these were related directly to the take-home vehicle audit, and I believe that all of those questions were probably answered during Daniel's presentation. Moving on to item number 6, which is outstanding audit items meeting audit committee discussion criteria. Based on the passage of resolution number 2 by the audit committee, the city department directors are requested to appear to discuss the status of outstanding audit items in the event that one of 3 events occur. And one of the 3 events include changing the status of an audit item to not implemented, or in the event that an audit recommendation is not implemented within 2 years of the report date, or again, if an audit recommendation is not implemented within 3 years of the report issuance date. So for the period of April 1st through June 30th, there were 3 audit items that entered one of these 3 categories. Specifically, the Water System Pipeline Management Program for the fiscal year 2021 agreement audit had 3 items that were not implemented within 2 years of the report date. Although these items were not implemented within 2 years of the report date, I'm happy to report that the Glendale Water and Power Water Management diligently worked and successfully implemented each of these 3 items subsequent to June 30th, actually as of July 22nd, 2025. So all of these have been implemented and these items will be closed. Item number 7, advisory services. The internal audit team continue to provide or to participate in a variety of team projects. These included the City Treasurer's Investment Policy Advisory Committee, the PCI Compliance Team, and also the GWP Energy Risk Management Committee. This concludes my quarterly activity report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does the commissioners have any questions for Natalie? So which of the audits here you think it will deliver most results or impact this year in regards to revenue? Is there anything about any of the audits that has a significant impact with revenue?
Are you referring to the new audit plan?
Yeah.
Okay. We actually are going to walk through that presentation next, but
okay.
there are a couple of revenue-related audits included within our audit plan.
Okay, we'll cover it then. So is that part of 6C still?
Yes.
Okay, sure. I have a request to speak card for this item, so wondering if we do it right after that, or should we do it now?
I believe that Daniel will read item 6C into the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item 6C, fiscal year 2025 audit work plan review and proposed fiscal year 2026 audit work plan. Natalie Manini-Valdivia, Principal Internal Auditor.
Great. So,
Would you like to hear the report first?
yes.
Okay.
So I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation for the fiscal year 2025 audit work plan review and the fiscal year 2026 proposed audit work plan. The primary purpose of this report and this presentation today is to walk you through both our fiscal year 2025 work plan review and our fiscal year 2026 proposed work plan. Our update on our fiscal year 2025 work plan status will detail our progress, what we accomplished, and the key takeaways from the current fiscal year. And secondly, and equally important, we'll present an overview of our fiscal year 2026 proposed work plan, outlining our strategic priorities and plan projects for the upcoming fiscal year. Now, let's briefly go over the content of the report itself. The report is structured to provide you with a comprehensive overview, starting with an executive summary. This summary will give you a high-level understanding of our key findings and proposals. Following the summary, you'll find 2 exhibits, which provide the detailed information supporting our presentation. The first exhibit focuses on the fiscal year 2025 work plan status, offering specifics on what has been accomplished and currently in progress. And exhibit number 2 details the fiscal year 2026 proposed work plan, outlining the specific audits and activities planned for the upcoming year. Now let's take a quick look at how we'll structure this presentation, providing you with an overview of the presentation's key sections. We'll begin by addressing the fundamental question, what is a work plan? This will ensure we'll be on the same page regarding the definition and purpose. Following that, we'll delve into how's the work plan developed. Here we'll explain our risk-based methodology and the various inputs that shape our annual audit plan. Next, we'll shift our focus to the performance, asking how did internal audit perform in fiscal year 2025? This section will highlight our achievements and the outcomes of our work during the past fiscal year. And then finally, we'll look forward to what is planned for fiscal year 2026. This will be our opportunity to present the proposed projects and activities for the upcoming year built upon our risk assessment process. Moving on, let's define what we mean by a work plan. Essentially, a work plan is a dynamic list of projects to be conducted by internal audit. And what we mean by dynamic is that it's not a rigid or static document. Rather, it's designed to be flexible and can be adjusted as new risks emerge or priorities shift throughout the year. Furthermore, the work plan is not merely a best practice. It is required by the Glendale Municipal Code to be prepared annually based on a risk assessment. This regulatory requirement is a systematic approach to ensure we focus our efforts where they matter most. Now let's explore how the work plan is developed, which is a comprehensive, multi-stage dynamic process. Step 1, the starting point, which is the formal audit plan being filed with the City Council. This initial step sets the stage for the next fiscal year's work plan development cycle. Step 2 is the ongoing adjustments. So this phase is crucial for maintaining the plan's relevance throughout the year. As we perform our scheduled audits, new audit projects might be identified, either organically through our findings or by requests from key stakeholders, and ensures that we address current concerns by making updates to our current plan or updates to our audit universe to be considered in the next fiscal year. Then we move to step 3, the periodic risk assessment. This isn't a one-time event, it's a continuous assessment. We perform continuous risk assessment analytics and work plan updates on a quarterly basis. This process includes creating Power BI dashboards to visualize data analytics, results performed on vendor contracts and purchase orders to identify those with high dollar values and low remaining balances, and/or those that are expiring within the next 2 to 3 years. The work plan status updates provide management with the projects that have been completed, are currently in progress, and also include those that are coming soon. The heart of planning is the number 4, the annual risk assessment that's performed at the end of each fiscal year. And this is the in-depth process that uses data analytics to identify potential projects, trends, and potential areas for concern. We then collaborate with management to gather qualitative insights on the selected high-risk projects. Finally, the plan undergoes step 5, the annual review and approval. This includes the review by the assistant city manager and the city manager, and then it's presented to the audit committee. Once the audit work plan is reviewed with the audit committee, it's provided to the city council. And then the full cycle brings us right back, or this step brings the full cycle back to the very beginning to kick off the development of our next fiscal year's work plan development. All right, let's take a dive deeper into the core phases of our risk assessment process. We start directly within step number 4, the annual risk assessment. The comprehensive evaluation involves in-depth data analytics to inform our risk identification. This year, we also strategically focused on revenue generation to identify potential risk opportunities, and in response to the audit committee's feedback, we incorporated a reevaluation of prior audits to ensure that past recommendations are still effective and that new risks haven't emerged from previously audited areas. Following this, we engaged in focused communications on selected high-risk projects. This allowed us to gather vital qualitative insights directly from those closest to the operations and to validate our data-driven findings specifically for those most critical areas. The ultimate deliverable of this phase is our top-ranked projects. This is a prioritized list of the most significant risks that require our immediate attention and mitigation strategies, and it directly drives our annual audit plan. Finally, we come to step 5, the annual review and approval. This is a critical governance step. The first part is the review by the city manager. This ensures that the identified risks and our proposed mitigation strategies are fully aligned with the city's overarching strategic objectives and priorities. Following that, we have the review by the audit committee. So these 2 critical phases, from the annual assessment to the final review and approval, are the cycle designed to effectively manage risk across our organization. Now let's look at how internal audit performed in fiscal year 2025. We're pleased to report that we completed 16 of our 19 projects for the fiscal year. This included 6 planned audit projects, 5 continuous audits that utilized our Arbutus Analyzer software that allowed us to automate and frequently test existing controls. The 5 scripts were run multiple times, ranging between 1 to 3 times per script, totaling 11 script runs for the year. There were also 2 quarterly risk assessment analytics and 3 advisory team projects. The detailed reconciliations included within report exhibit number 1. We also have 2 projects currently in progress, including the public benefits charge audit and the physical access card continuous audit. These are actively being worked on, and we anticipate their completion in the near future. Finally, 1 project has been reselected for fiscal year 2026. So beyond just numbers, fiscal year 2025 was a year of significant achievements. A key highlight was the take-home vehicle audit, which led to substantial improvements in compliance, governance, and financial accuracy, as highlighted by Daniel earlier during our quarterly activity report. We also significantly enhanced our risk-based work plan and communication, making our audit efforts more targeted and transparent. Our continuous risk assessment dashboard saw notable improvements, providing us with better insights. We continue to deliver high-quality work products by maintaining an updated quality control system, consistently providing value. And we actively promoted collaboration and transparency across departments through the SharePoint Interactive Internal Audit Recommendations dashboard and the continuous audit test results trackers. Internally, we maintained a strong learn and share culture, fostering continuous growth. This enabled staff members to share lessons learned during audits, as well as schedule fraud brainstorms to allow staff members the opportunity to do some research and contribute project-related fraud risks to be considered. Overall, we were agile and efficient in performing audit projects and adapting effectively to the evolving needs. Regarding staffing, we did experience some staff changes in fiscal year 2025, including the extended leave of the senior internal auditor at the beginning of the fiscal year and then her departure in May 2025. However, I'm happy to report that we successfully recruited Daniel to join our team as an internal auditor in February of this year. So despite these transitions, our productivity remains strong, with 84% of our projects completed as planned. Now let's look ahead for the fiscal year 2026 proposed work plan. This plan's development model is based on the comprehensive June 2025 risk assessment. A key characteristic, again, of this plan is that it's designed to be dynamic and flexible, so it allows us to adapt quickly to any changing environment, risk environment, or emerging priorities throughout the year. This approach ensures that we remain relevant and resilient in the ever-changing risk landscape. So what's in store for the fiscal year 2026? Our proposed projects total 18. This includes 1 carried over project, 6 new and reselected audits, 11 continuous audits, dedicated risk assessment analytics, and ongoing advisory teams to provide support where it's needed. The detailed fiscal year 2026 work plan is included within the report exhibit number 2. Beyond these specific projects, our routine activities will continue to include continuous risk assessment, our commitment to maintaining a high-quality control standards, quarterly reporting to city management, the audit committee, and city council, and then diligent quarterly follow-up on all the outstanding audit recommendations, and again, continued audit committee staff support. So in conclusion, we're excited about the comprehensive risk-focused work plan for 2026. So our next step will be to submit the annual work plan to the City Council to submit the annual work plan to City Council. And we believe that this plan will position internal audit to continue providing significant value to the city. This concludes my presentations. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. And just a question briefly before we get to the comment card I have here. With 18 projects planned and 2 FTEs in your department, I could have sworn you guys had more people in this department before. So that sounds challenging to me as to being able, the other audit we just saw, it was over 600 hours. So is there an anticipated number of hours, and do you actually have the realistic view of being able to accomplish all those 18 projects?
So in answer to your question, that's a great question, Chair Patajon. The audit plan is not specifically created with the intention of 100% of the audit work plan being completed, because there are going to be changes that occur throughout the year. So there are 10 to 15% extra project hours that are included, so that in the event that there is a change, we have another audit project that we can take on. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. But so the ability to, the audit plan that you have there, do we have a which one has the higher priority to be audited, just because of whichever audit it is, due to whatever information we might, you guys may have? Is there priority as to which one's the top choice to finish first?
So in the audit plan exhibit 2 that is attached to the report, the audit report or the audit projects are listed in priority order.
Okay.
So that is based on a calculation that's done based on impact and likelihood, and that incorporates 4 criteria, including financial risk, operational risk, strategic risk, and compliance risk. So together, there are numbers assigned to those separate risk categories to come to a final risk score.
Maybe I'll be, it's just trying to see it, okay. My chairs, anyone has any questions for Natalie? Denise Miller? No? Okay, great. Well, thank you, Natalie, for
Thank
the
you.
report.
You want to take a oral comment now?
Yes, that's what we're going to do next. All right, next, please have Humberto Milano come up for agenda item 6C.
Thank you, Chair Arjona, members of the committee. On a fairly regular basis, I use the California Public Records Act to look at items, kind of like an audit, something that interests me that I saw in the city council, and I decided to basically follow up on it. One of the items that really I took an interest in was nepotism. Nepotism is considered by Transparency International one of the key indicators of corruption, and is of a huge concern to me. In one of the reports that I received, that was a partial year, there were 40 positions, new hires, who had relatives working for the city of Glendale. And that, to me, is a concern, and it should be part of an audit review on a consistent basis, because it has ramifications that are significant with regard to how the work is being assigned, to promotions, to the way the rest of the employees feel whenever there are cutbacks and those individuals are cut, things of this nature. So it has a corrosive effect on the morale of employees whenever you don't control nepotism. And I think that it is one of the most significant things that you should do on a regular basis every year. The second thing that I took interest on with regard to, especially, for example, last Tuesday, I saw changes to a particular approvals on a change to a contract that exceeded 50% of the original amount. And I think most of you know that one of the ways that proposals are oftentimes done, presented through to an RFP, is that they are let's say the low bidder, but then you have this 10% contingency that allows them, well, I would do an audit on all of the contracts that are equal to 110% or greater. Because if you're basically hiring or contracting with companies that have a history of always absorbing 110% or 115%, I think that the RFP process may need review. Because if you're not checking to see if these companies have a history of always taking up the contingency, it means that they're putting change orders like crazy in order to be able to say, we're not going to leave $1 in that particular contract. And I think it merits consideration. The third item that I would suggest is that you must have at least one of the development projects that the city is taking on with regard to housing for review every year. Because they are of significant dollar value. And you have the land acquisition, and the discussions are taken behind closed doors under closed session, and the public doesn't get to evaluate that process. And I think it behooves the audit committee to really hone in on that. My objective really is to drag the city kicking and screaming for all of the things that they have not been audited on. And you're going to get a lot of resistance. And that's why the leadership of this committee needs someone who's going to be able to seriously push back. And by the way, one last comment. The amount of time that I took to discuss whether or not it was going to take 2 extra minutes lasted more than 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Just out of curiosity, the HR audit we did a while back ago, I know it didn't consist of any of what the gentleman spoke about today, of the nepotism. Do we even have an audit from that per se, or no?
I can probably jump into that. I don't know specifically about nepotism. Probably don't have a current audit on nepotism. However, I can say that as of last year, probably within the last 6 months, we implemented a new policy where each year on an annual basis, employees have to report any type of relationships with other employees within the organization. So moving forward, we will certainly have a database to be able to pull from to be able to determine whether or not that is or is not an issue. Where that's actually coming from, what the impetus of Mr. Milano's comments is, I'm not aware of.
And maybe I can comment on that because I also advise the Civil Service Commission. Similar comments were raised with the Civil Service Commission, and it is an issue that is within that commission's purview. That is a charter mandated commission, and there is a process that the HR department follows in determining whether or not someone at the time of hire or at some other interval reports on whether or not they have family members also at the city. So that was a particular issue that HR monitors on a regular basis. The commission was given the option to hear on a more frequent basis whether those numbers had changed, and they did express an interest, and so HR modified its policies to address the items that were addressed that were brought up by the commission themselves. So the process that Mr. Taktalian's speaking to is something that's of importance to the HR department. It's important to the Civil Service Commission, and they are actively pursuing it.
Great, thank you for your comment on this. All right, next item.
Item 7, Audit Committee / staff comments.
Do we have any staff comments?
I have a couple staff comments, if you wouldn't mind. Chair Patajon and fellow Audit Committee members, I'd like to take a moment to welcome and introduce Mr. Jack Leong. He is the city's new finance director, and this is his first Audit Committee meeting. Mr. Leong joined the city earlier this month, bringing nearly 20 years of public finance experience to Glendale, and he most recently served as the Chief Business Operations Officer of Clean Water Services in Oregon, one of the state's largest public utilities. Mr. Leong holds many impressive designations, including MBA, CPA, and the Chartered Global Management Accountant certification. So we look forward to working with Mr. Leong, and please join me in extending a warm welcome.
Welcome.
And
Welcome. Yeah. I was going to say welcome, and we used to have a seat available for him here, didn't we? For the director of accounting.
He can have
what
mine.
happened. Huh?
He can have mine.
No, we need you here too. All right. Well, thank you. I did see the city advertise your appointment. You coming into the department, and we appreciate having you here. Hopefully, we can get you to say a few words if you want.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome to Audit Committee members, and it is an honor to be a part of the city, join the city as part of the finance department, as well as working closely with our internal audit function. And just in the short 4 weeks that I have been with the city, I have observed and witnessed excellent work within both the finance department, the internal audit team, as well as the rest of the city. So I look forward to long-term commitment to the city, as well as a long-term collaboration with your committee. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, next.
And I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank thank my internal auditor, Daniel Mitchell, for joining our team. Amidst a period of transition, he has hit the ground running and working to get up to speed with our internal audit processes. He's picked up on the public benefits program audit that was started by our previous senior internal auditor and has picked up exactly where she left off. And he has also assumed the responsibility to serve as the Audit Committee Secretary. So we're incredibly fortunate to have him on our team. So thank you, Daniel, for your hard work and dedication. And then next, I'd like to turn my attention to our audit committee. Your oversight, guidance, and diligent stewardship have been foundational to our success. To our reappointed members, particularly Chair Patajon and Committee Member Mavian, thank you for your continued dedication and for providing vital continuity and your experience. And to our more recent committee members, Committee Member Davidian, Committee Member Miller, and Committee Member Satorian, who's absent. I thank you for providing your fresh perspective and expertise, and we truly do appreciate your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those kind words. All right, if no other comments, Audit Committee members?
I have a question for Natalie. Yep. Could you just give us a high-level summary of the next steps on this proposal? Like, when is it going to City Council? Does it go to City Council? Does it go to the city manager? I'm looking for a schedule, is really where I'm going with my question.
Okay, so generally speaking, we bring this to the audit committee, the first audit committee after the June 30th timeframe. So once you've reviewed it, if you have comments or feedback, then I can take those comments and feedback. But this item is currently scheduled to go to City Council on, I believe it's August 26th. And that goes as a consent item on their agenda. And that's also the time that that item 5C is presented.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, anyone else? All right, next item, please.
Item 8, new business.
Anyone has any new business to add?
Chair Perrone, can we consider discussing, it all depends on the schedule and the calendar. If the schedule's too full, I'm not so motivated that this has to supersede it, but I don't want it to get lost if we can talk about more than 4 meetings, up to 6. That's really where I'm going on that.
And
And to get us there, I can to get us there, I recognize what staff said logistically, and all of that makes sense. But what would be helpful is to see in live time the discussion, even if it's a deck with like 4 slides, where you basically show us what 2025 looked like and what the schedule was around that when things were approved, because that'll tell us if there's capacity. And if you and your financial wisdom have a different way to get us to capacity, if we're at capacity, that's really my question, then choose that method. You don't have to do the 4 slides. Like, you don't have to choose the method I proposed. What I'm saying is I want to know if we're at capacity for the work that needs to be done and how often we're meeting. And I'm asking how we get there.
We would add an agenda item for the next meeting for a full discussion.
Thank you.
thank you. All right, anyone else? No? All right, so let's move on to the next item.
Item 9, adjournment.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we're done. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone that provided us comment cards. We appreciate your feedback. Have a good one. See you next time.